Hi, everyone, and welcome to the webinar, Solve Your Digital Issuance Problem with Visa in-app provisioning. My name is Shahzad Khan, and I'll be your moderator today. Okay, during this webinar, we'll present for about 40 minutes, and then we'll have time for Q&A at the end. Please enter your questions in Q&A window for this presentation. Okay, before we start, let's review a few items about this webinar. You'll see a number of windows on your screen. Feel free to move them around on your screen and resize as needed. In the resource list window, we have put together some great resources for you to read, so please check them out. Webinars can be bandwidth intensive, so we recommend closing other browsers or programs and getting off your corporate virtual private networks. Everyone is currently in listen-only mode. The audio is coming over the internet through your computer speakers or headset. To ask a question or if you need assistance, use your Q&A window to type your questions. If you have any issues with audio or video, use your F5 button to refresh your browser or try a different browser. If our presenters we're all working from home, so please be patient. If our presenters get disconnected from the presentation, we will dial right back in. Home network bandwidth can always be challenging at times. We will be recording today's webinar, and we'll send you a recording later this week. Okay. While we introduce our panelists or speakers, please take a look at our disclaimer screen. Please read the disclaimer here, which states that this presentation may contain forward-looking statements. They are not a guarantee of future performance, product development, strategy, and more. At this point, I would like to introduce our speakers today. I am Shahzad Khan, and I'm the presenter and the moderator for today's session. I'm part of Visa Global Product Team, and I'm responsible for go-to-market and commercialization for our products. George Perry is our second presenter and my counterpart on our global product team, and we'll be presenting in-app provisioning options and solutions that are globally available. Nikhil Nadkar is from our Visa Developer Portal team, and will close our discussion on Developer Portal and how to access all the APIs there. Now, please remember, if you have a question and answer, or if you have questions, please post them in the QA window. We will wait until the end of the presentation to answer them. All right, so let's get started. We have a very simple vision from our solutions perspective, or what we're going to be presenting here. Our teams build products which are globally available to simplify, expand, and enrich your experiences and connections with your cardholders, and providing them solutions that will elevate them to a different level. That's the goal that we build products on. With that being said, our focus is to give you tools where you can continue managing your customers, their relationships, and their money, while we provide you the products to enhance and make that happen. Today's webinar is more focused on Apple Pay, Google Pay, and Samsung Pay, and that's what we're going to be discussing on how can we, in real time, make these cards available from your mobile banking app directly into mobile wallets. To get us started, I'm going to walk you through a high-level three-step process. And that process starts with your mobile banking app. In step one, the card is issued to the customer or to the cardholder in real time, or digitally issued into their banking app. We are providing the option where the cardholder can touch that button in the middle of the screen there which in this particular example says Apple Wallet or add this card to Apple Wallet, but it works the same for Samsung and Android. For simplicity's sake, we only put one button there. Once the cardholder touches that button, that particular function will take them to the mobile wallet experience directly, where the cardholder will see terms and conditions of the mobile wallet that is as defined by the bank. And then once they agree to it, the card will become available in their mobile wallet in real time. And that is a token that gets issued and assigned and provisioned. And we'll come to those process flows that George will be talking about at a later time. Wanted to give you all a little bit of information about our why consumers are looking for this. Nowadays is a very connected world. People are looking for real-time connectivity. They want to be able to pay with their mobile wallet as well as their mobile devices, their connected watches. There are many different ways to pay and get paid. And that's what we're looking for. Omnichannel integrated experience becomes a very important solution where I may sit at home, buy a television, for example, from the closest retailer and go pick it up in store, or also give them the experience where me having as a cardholder having the experience to go to a store, buy that television and have the store deliver it at a later time. So that the cardholders are expected to use their cards in any setting possible, and the merchants are looking to get paid. That's what we consider an omnichannel integrated experience. There are plenty of alternative ways to pay. I mentioned your mobile watches, your mobile devices, the contactless cards. The experience that we provide, the automated experience we provide is what the focus of this presentation is about. On the right side, we did want to share a little bit of how the mobile wallet space has grown over the last few years. Traditionally, the mobile wallets have grown 2 to 3%, and 2020 numbers are still coming in. But we've seen a big spike of mobile wallet usage that has happened within globally. And I wanted to share some of the trends that are emerging and why that trend is here to stay. Our biggest impact that has prompted our card users to have or to use contactless payments has been COVID-19. COVID-19 has prompted customers to leverage contactless payments as much as possible. Mobile wallet has become a very big driver of that capability. I always give an example to my friends that when my wife and we go to a grocery store, we have the ability to go there and shop in different aisles, because I like to hang out in a different aisle than my wife does at a large grocery store. But we want to have the ability to be able to call each other and still pay using the mobile wallet and not take any more plastic card or take any wallets or purses with us, because we have to come home and disinfect them. So it may be just my wife and I, but we are also starting to notice that trend happening, that folks are wanting to disinfect their solutions. So COVID-19 impact is here to stay because it's educating the cardholders in many cases that would not have adopted mobile wallets to be able to leverage those. Now, if we were to move forward from there, Gen Z, the next generation, is very focused on digital-first experiences. 5G expansion and smartphone penetration is growing tremendously, and then the merchant acceptance is also there. The last few years, the card brands as well as the merchants merchants had gone ahead and updated their systems to have contactless terminals. So the presence of contactless is here to stay. I do want to share a little bit of a global view of of how mobile wallets are being adopted in different parts of the world. As you can see, Asia Pacific has taken the lead, and US is catching up behind that. But the rest of the world is still open and available for mobile usage and adoption, and that's what we're trying to solve for here. Now, we do talk a little bit about what are we trying to gain out of this. There are two use cases that we will come to in a little bit. One use case I hinted earlier, where in the mobile digital banking app, a cardholder or a web browser, cardholder is able to apply for a card and get that card provisioned in real time. So you approve the card, you provision the card, and you give the acceptance or approval to the cardholder. But then what happens? The card needs to be provisioned in mobile wallet because a lot of folks are Gen Z first customers. Or Gen Z customers are looking for digital experiences. The second use case here is that the card has previously been issued, but it has, for whatever reason, for several reasons, actually, the cardholder has chosen not to scan it or take a picture like the traditional way, the wallet experience, and have that provisioned into their mobile wallet. And that could be because they are not digital first customer. Maybe it requires time for them to activate the card and then provision it. So we're trying to create that elevated customer experience for those cardholders, as well as your mobile users, mobile wallet users, so they can have digital first experience. We believe that by providing a good digital first experience, the customers or cardholders will be able to keep those cards as top of the wallet and build that customer loyalty as digital first solution. We also expect a higher activation rate, and that's one of the use cases that I mentioned earlier. Either the card is applied for and in real time gets provisioned, or the card has been previously applied for and now needs to be provisioned. The most important thing is that you have a additional activation rate, because now and an additional spend that could come through it, because now you have the cardholder having the card available in their mobile wallet. Now, with that being said, we also want to increase that mobile app usage for a lot of the cardholders. One of our goals is that if we were to be able to provide this solution through you to your cardholders, that your cardholders will engage with your mobile banking app. That is to make sure that the newer generation of solutions are available to cardholders, but also the banks, so that because the neobanks and the new online banking, there are no branches anymore, but your mobile app is the branch that everybody focuses on. So we want to increase that mobile app usage. And by all doing that, everything is secure and working and encrypted. So that also increases the card security for everyone. Now, I do want to share a little bit as to why this is a complex operation. Part of the implementation for Apple, Google, and Samsung Pay, if you were to create an implementation directly with them, which we also recommend to our customers, there's several different ways of doing it. You can connect directly to the wallet providers, or you can leverage our product. But if you were to do it, you have to get into the complexity of buying, managing, and installing HSMs, and then having to manage the encryption keys, exchanging those keys with the wallet types, and then having a team to manage it. So your upfront costs are quite a bit from our perspective. And it takes time. It takes several months just to set the infrastructure together, and then to build the APIs and SDKs so you can service the mobile banking app. There is a higher software development cost due to security aspect of it. And then unique integrations are required to have to all of the three wallet providers. From a compliance overhead perspective, we focus on there is a overhead of maintenance of all three wallet endpoints. There are specification changes and change management for them. And of course, compliance and regulatory requirements are the ones that slow down sometimes go-to-market for the customer. Now, with that being said, our goal is simple. We want to have a single integration with Visa, which will enable all pay wallets. And that integration, all three APIs or all APIs are located on our Visa developer portal. And then you as a tech partner, as an issuer, as a processor can connect to our portal and then consume our APIs for the payloads to work with all the Apple, Samsung, Google Wallet. We want to reduce your encryption key management. We talked about expensive HSMs or hardware security modules, as well as having to maintain your own team to focus on making this happen. Requires a lot of upfront capital. And remember, you're only going to provision a card into a mobile device maybe once every year or two, as long as the life cycle of the device in itself. So for a low-use API or a low-use provisioning, you have to maintain a very expensive ongoing solution for the customer. We are also attempting to eliminate some of that development complexity and speed up the development process to make it faster to time to market. From our customers, we have also learned that for the infrastructure setup, for the development, as well as the mobile app development, it could take anywhere from 6 to 12 months just for the infrastructure setup for encryption and secure environment to be built out. And then there's a parallel process that our customers have to be to develop your mobile app or enhance your mobile app and make it available in an app store or one of the stores thereafter. Now, remember, our systems, once you integrate to them, are highly available and scalable. So one integration works in most regions, and then they are backed up very regularly. So very high availability and scalability is what we have built. And we are focused on not just issuer processors, but also fintechs and mobile operators, mobile developers to leverage the APIs with Visa. So I'm going to stop there and pass the baton over to George. George is going to walk us through the actual technical flows of in-app provisioning, APIs and SDKs. And then from there on, we'll take it over to Nikhil. George?
Great, thanks, Azad. Hello, everyone. I'm George Perry from the Visa Global Product Team, and thanks for joining us today. I'll start off by showing you a demonstration of the user experience for provisioning to the page. So the consumer experience starts in your mobile banking app. This is an example of your home page. How you enable cardholders to initiate the provisioning process is up to you and may vary. The mobile app developer is responsible for creating the user experience up until the point where the wallet user experience takes over. Note that there's no yellow path token step-up authentication necessary, and there's no manual data entry required. The cardholder accepts the issuer wallet's T's and C's. The encrypted card payload is sent to the wallet provider makes the provisioning request, and the mobile device is now ready to make payments. So with that, let me talk a bit about the options you have and the multiple in-app provisioning solutions that support provisioning to all three pays that Visa provides. So we give you the ability to choose the solution that best meets your needs. So first, the in-app provisioning API. This is primarily for issuers or issuer processors who are responsible for key management and card data. The API creates an encrypted message per pay wallet and Visa network specifications and manages all the keys and hardware security modules on your behalf. It supports a direct wallet integration option for mobile app developers and issuers. And this API is available now. The key point to remember here is that the mobile app developer is well versed in developing an iOS or Android mobile app, though they are typically not familiar with key management, HSMs, and encryption. If a mobile app developer wants to manage all of the integration to the pay wallets directly, but not the encryption component, the API is a perfect fit. As an alternative, you could also consider the in-app provisioning SDK. This is primarily targeted towards mobile app developers and platforms, both individual issuers and reseller channel partners. It's a simplified integration option that aggregates multiple APIs for mobile app providers and issuers. It includes key management, token eligibility checks, and direct integration with all the pay wallet APIs. The SDK provides an end-to-end solution ideal for mobile developers that would prefer to not have to integrate directly with the pay wallet API. Our API and SDK offerings provide you with flexible enablement and deployment options. By providing multiple options, it allows our clients flexibility and gives you options to use either the API or SDK, depending on how much integration work you'd like to do. The API takes all of the key management and encryption responsibilities away from the mobile developer. The SDK includes all the benefits of the API, but also integrates to the wallet APIs on behalf of the client. So let me elaborate a bit more on the API solution here. And before diving into this diagram, please note that developing in-app provisioning requires issuers and channel partners to complete a couple of key things. First, you need to develop a mobile banking app that offers the in-app provisioning experience. And second, if you were to do in-app provisioning without the help of Visa, you'll also need to build infrastructure that appropriately encrypts the card data depending on the mobile device type and network requirements. The Visa in-app provisioning API offloads all the infrastructure work so that you can focus on the mobile banking experience. The Visa in-app provisioning APIs were designed to offer infrastructure services that allow client host systems to connect with the Visa in-app provisioning APIs to perform the encryption of card data. To explain the diagram shown here, in step one, the mobile banking application sends device and cardholder information to Visa through its host system, and Visa returns an encrypted payload to the host system. The Visa API, based upon the device type, encrypts for Apple, Google, and Samsung Pay, and returns the encrypted payload back to the client. In step number two, the mobile banking app integrates to the Pay Wallet APIs, performs eligibility checks, and sends the encrypted card details per the wallet specification. Step three, once the mobile wallet receives the payload, it will call out to the Visa token service and request a payment token. In the final step, number four, the token will be provisioned to the wallet provider and available for use on the mobile device. Note that step three and step number four are business as usual steps and would occur as they do today, as if a consumer had manually added their card to the Pay Wallet app directly. So having your BINs tokenized in support of the Pay Wallets is one of the prerequisites for supporting any in-app provisioning solution. So now I'll talk a bit more about the SDK option. The SDK is a mobile application component that the mobile app developer embeds within the mobile banking app. Once the SDK is embedded within the mobile app developer would gather the card details from the issuer's system and pass that card data into the SDK. The SDK manages all downstream API calls on behalf of the mobile app developer so that the mobile app would not need to interface directly with Visa or the Pay Wallet API. We've made this as simple as possible for the mobile app developer, and the mobile app developer only has 3 touch points with the SDK. One is to start up or initialize the SDK. 2, the mobile app passes the card details to the SDK, and the SDK performs the required eligibility checks and returns a list of all the supported pay wallets to the mobile app. And 3, after the user has selected their desired pay wallet, the mobile app tells the SDK to push the card to the wallet the user selected. The SDK facilitates the communication with the mobile device and also facilitates the app-to-app communication between the mobile app and the Pay Wallet app. Also, it's important to note here that the SDK internally calls the same in-app provisioning API as presented in the earlier API slide. So this slide shows the differences between the APIs, the similarities and differences between the API and the SDK. Both options provide the infrastructure services that allows the encrypted payload to be created for the provisioning of the cards. For both services, we also manage and configure the rules that prevent token step-up authentication when a card is pushed to the page using Visa in-app provisioning. The Visa SDK takes in-app provisioning a step further by integrating with the pay wallet provider APIs to perform the eligibility checks and send the encrypted payload to the wallet providers. Note, as seen in this chart, the client still has the responsibility to design your own UX and to whitelist the mobile app in the App Store and the respective app stores. I'd like to now introduce Nikhil Nadkar to talk about the Visa Developer Portal. Nikhil?
Thank you, George, and thank you, Shazad. Hi, guys. I'm going to spend about 10 to 15 minutes this morning talking to you guys about now how do we bring this API and this SDK to life through VDP. Going on to the next slide. So first, we're going to discuss, the relevant environments that you guys need for doing the development for the API and the SDK. And then my very last slide will actually cover the Visa Developer Project lifecycle. Now, for those of you who have worked with us in the past or have been through this process, a lot of this is going to sound, look very familiar to you. And that's one of the goals of VDP, right? It's to try to standardize these processes, these environments in as much as possible across many different products so that, you're not basically dealing with a completely new, different, integration sets of practices, every time you go through this process. The one exception here is, given that the SDK is slightly different than some of the other APIs, there are exceptions to that, and I'll cover that on the next slide. So please note that everything that I'm covering on this slide deals specifically with the in-app provisioning API. The other thing that I'll mention is throughout my slides, I've also included a number of links to some of the documentation that we have on the portal, as well as through our community blogs. So feel free to explore those later, after this webinar for really an in-depth, kind of a discussion on all of the topics that I'm going to cover today. So the first environment that we have is the VDP Sandbox environment. And in this environment, really the purpose of Sandbox is to obviously validate, the basic functionality of the product and the API. It's the functional testing environment, if you will, and then also to validate the connectivity. As you guys know, VDP offers several different mechanisms of authentication. We have two-way SSL for some of the products. We have XPay token for others. The in-app provisioning API specifically requires, the XPay token authentication. And we had done a webinar just a few months back, I believe it was in August, regarding XPay token. So if you guys are interested in additional details on that, feel free to check out that webinar. The other thing about Sandbox is there are multiple different ways for you to create projects. You can either have multiple projects for a single product. You can have one for testing. You can have another one for going live. You can have multiple different developers collaborating on the same project. So there's a lot of flexibility that you have in our Sandbox environment. The one question I get asked commonly about Sandbox is, hey, is there any way to port some of my production data or a subset of my data over to Sandbox? And unfortunately, given that it is, the environment is publicly available, and that would be an enormous security risk, we will not do that. The product teams do provide sample data for you to be able to test your functionality in Sandbox. And we do realize that, this is not going to enable you to test every single edge case that you have. Some of that testing might have to be conducted in a higher certification or production environments. So just please be mindful of that. The next environment we have here is certification. So the first thing to note is that not every product on VDP has a certification environment. There are some products that are relatively straightforward to integrate, like, for instance, our foreign exchange APIs or our ATM locator APIs. But for more complex products, such as the in-app provisioning API or Visa transaction controls, we will require you to, test in that certification environment and go through the certification process. For the complex products, such as the in-app provisioning API, once you get into certification, we will assign an implementation manager to work with you one-on-one on your project. And this implementation manager is really going to walk you through a number of different tasks, right? So first of all, it's the connectivity. So making sure you have the certificates for connecting to the certification environment. He or she will also assist you with executing any specific test cases that we believe are essential for that particular product. Think of this as, the certification process as an integrated test, if you will, right? So we want to ensure that the data is flowing successfully from your systems into Visa. If there's any other third-party integration that's involved, we'll test that. Now, fortunately for the in-app provisioning API, there's no dependencies on processor testing, right? So we won't need to test that. For some of the other products, there could be. So just think of it as an integrated testing to validate all of those data flows. Finally, if there's any governance requirements for the product, if there's anything specifically that we need from you with regards to compliance, the implementation manager will be able to assist you with that as well, right? The last environment is obviously production. I think, most of you know what that means. I don't need to really explain that. But the idea is, in order to get to production, the implementation manager will, again, assist you with putting in place the back-end configurations and all of the other settings or flags that need to be put in place for your product to work. Again, we'll do a round of validation of your data flows. For the in-app provisioning, there might be some risk rules that you might have to tweak so that a lot of the provisioning requests go down the green path. And so those are the things that the implementation manager will assist you with. I think a lot of the clients do like to pilot, even when they get into production, pilot their product for the first couple of weeks, either with a subset of their accounts or with their internal employees. I think this is pretty much a standard practice across the industry, right? And for most software development, you want to have a smaller pilot before you really go to general availability. So I'm going to move to the next slide here and discuss specifically the environments or the integration as relating to SDK. So as I mentioned earlier, the SDK is a little bit of an exception here from all the other APIs. The key thing to note is that the SDK, while it is hosted on VDP, so the content, and some of the other files, the integration and the connection does not actually happen through VDP. And so the implication for that is that, there's not going to be a sandbox environment for you to develop. So the way that this process will work is that we will actually start off with you, discussing your solution, and then we will sign a contract before you give you guys access to download some of the source files and the materials. From then on, once again, there's going to be an implementation manager that's going to work with you on the project. He or she will assist you with all of the things that I covered previously, all of those the data flow validations, the testing, compliance, all of those things still need to happen. And again, he or she, will assist you through that. Again, for the production launch, when you guys go live, the one other thing to note about production is that that's not the end of our engagement, right? So we're here to provide you guys any support that you guys need after you go live, whether that's over email, over the phone call. If there's any proactive communication that we need to send out with regards to any maintenance or upgrades for the products, we'll do that as well, right? So the production launch is just a milestone, but our engagement will obviously continue even after that. Next, I just very quickly want to cover the VDP portal. So as the previous presenter mentioned, the API has been live on the VDP portal for a number of months now, and we're actually planning on hosting the SDK, at exactly the same location, just to avoid any confusion, because there's obviously synergy between these products. We want to make sure that we're not confusing our clients by hosting the SDK in a separate place. That should go live here in the coming days. The only other two quick things I'll mention about the portal is there is a view docs link when you get to the main overview page that will give you guys a lot more detailed information about the product. This will cover things like authentication you need, any particular prerequisites for the product, anything specifically you need to be aware of in terms of regional availability, things of that nature. Also, when you look at the left-hand nav on the View Docs page, there will be a link to our API reference. And the reference is going to contain things like, the sample API calls. It's going to contain the exact request and response parameters that you guys need for the coding. It will contain the references to the error codes and all of the information that a developer needs to really be able to successfully, develop using these APIs. Okay. Excuse me, give me 1 second. Okay, so now I just very quickly, again, want to cover, I realize we're coming up on time here, just the overall lifecycle process for VDP. So how do you go from, creating an account all the way to going live and navigating between all of those environments that we talked about? So the process or your VDP journey really starts with, creating an account on VDP. So when you go to developer.visa.com, you will see a link up top to either sign in or to create a new account. We just ask for some very basic information like your name, your email address for contact your organization, and then you're good to create an account. Note that you can do this even prior to signing any contract, and this is totally free. So you don't have to, have any formal engagement with us for you to go ahead and do that. You can go ahead and do that today if you haven't done so already. Once you create an account, you just go in and log in and you click on add a project, and then you'll be able to add in the in-app provisioning API and start developing with that. If you don't see this particular API in your list of APIs to add, go ahead and just send us an email and let us know your use case. Or if you have a Visa account executive that's assigned for your organization, feel free to work with them and they can reach out to us, and we should be able to get you access fairly quickly. One of the reasons we ask for the use case before giving access is we just want to ensure that the product capabilities actually line up with your solution, right, in terms of what you're trying to do. So for instance, if you're trying to use a product, not this one, but something else midstream in your authorization flow, we just want to make sure that a product is actually capable of handling that and was designed for that, right? So that's the purpose of asking you for the use case. Now, once we've aligned on the use case and given you guys access in Sandbox, the next step is typically we want to try to formalize that engagement by having you guys, sign an agreement or a contract with us. And the VDP agreement, we've actually kind of structured it and simplified it as much as we can to basically include 3 sections. The first one is going to be your platform terms for VDP that are applicable across all the products. The next one is going to be any product-specific terms specific to the in-app provisioning API. And the last one, obviously, is going to be the pricing. So with regards to platform terms, this is going to look very similar to a lot of the other software service agreements you've seen in the past, right? So it's going to cover the agreement scope, the length of the term of the agreement, some of the marketing terms, things of that nature. The product terms will specifically define out regarding the in-app provisioning API, the purpose of the product, any limitations there are, any prerequisites for using the product, things of that nature. And for pricing, we're actually not going to disclose the pricing on the webinar today because it's a little bit nuanced. So, it depends on how many wallets you decide to integrate with. It's going to depend on whether you do a direct connection versus a reseller model. So in regards to pricing, reach out to us, and we'll have that discussion one-on-one. And after we really understand your solution and your requirements, we can recommend the appropriate pricing for you. There is an article that is currently published on the VDP portal just to kind of give you an overview of how VDP thinks about pricing, the framework. Again, it's not going to give you the exact pricing, but do check that out to kind of understand how we think about pricing, right? Now, the next 2 steps with onboarding and going live, you really start this process by going into your project dashboard on the VDP portal and clicking on the going live link. And when you do that, that will actually launch a workflow that will step you through all of the necessary information that we need to review your solution. It will prompt you to submit a CSR file so that then we can create the certificates and turn those around to you. The one question that I'm very commonly asked about the onboarding process is, well, how long is this going to take? And I would say the biggest prerequisite for onboarding is your implementation in Sandbox. So the more thorough that implementation is, the faster we can get through the onboarding process. I would say for the in-app provisioning API, and by onboarding, let me clarify, I mean when we start certification and then going live, I would estimate 6 weeks is probably about a reasonable time frame for most clients. We've had clients who've done that obviously much faster than that. We've had some clients that have taken longer. Again, all of this depends on your solution and what you're designing. But 6 weeks is generally a good rule of thumb for this particular API. All right. The last thing I'll say is, again, I know I'm coming up on time here. I'll reiterate again, is feel free to check out, all of the links and all of the resources that are highlighted there on that slide. Everything I've said here has just been an executive summary. So, feel free to visit those links for more details. And finally, at the very bottom of the slide, you will see an email contact for us, developer@visa.com. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us over email. We also have a community forum that will let you interact with us and your fellow developers there. So do explore those resources as well. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Shahzad and George, and we're going to open it up for questions.
Thank you, Nikhil. We actually have several very good questions, and we can start with the first question here. And Nikhil, George, feel free to please respond to either one of you. First question is, much of what has been mentioned talks about Visa and Visa clients. What if client the issuer and not a developer? How do third parties get included? And Nikhil, you mentioned a little bit about reseller for the third parties. You want to go through a little bit about third parties, how they can be participating onto Visa Developer Portal?
Sure, yeah. So with third party, I would say the biggest determinant is how do you plan on, commercializing your solution? So we have some other third parties. So fintechs are a good example of this, right? Where you have a BIN sponsor that's sitting behind the fintech who is an issuer. And then the fintech will actually be leveraging the BINs from the sponsor to issue the cards. So in that case, what we might do is we might have a commercial relationship with the issuer. And then we'll bring fintech on kind of as an OBO and on behalf of entity using and leveraging those APIs. However, if you are a third party that is planning on using our API and then selling them over to any issuing clients, then we, at that point, will probably have a reseller agreement with you. So we will contract with you directly instead of working through the issuer. And then, those terms will outline our engagement. And, there might be a specific set of pricing that is in effect for that.
Okay. Thank you, Nikhil. George, the next question is for you. Yellow path provisioning is not necessarily now what it means. Can you elaborate a little bit on yellow path provisioning and how the app can validate the credentials before they come to an app?
Sure. Thanks, Azad. So if a card or a BIN already supports provisioning to the pays, already supports tokenization for the pays, the experience today is the cardholder goes directly to one of the wallet providers' apps, Apple, Google, or Samsung Pay apps. And they'll enter their card details into the wallet app directly. And because the wallet themselves may or may not be familiar with the consumer, there are rules that are evaluated when that card is provisioned to that particular app. And those rules determine whether additional authentication is necessary. In some cases, the additional authentication is not necessary. In other cases, sometimes additional yellow path token step-up authentication is necessary. What that means is the cardholder will either have to retrieve a one-time passcode, or they may have to call the issuer's call center to validate that the person trying to add their card to the wallet is the actual cardholder. So the real benefit, or one of the key benefits of doing in-app provisioning, is once your cardholders are authenticated in the mobile banking app, meaning that they've logged in using a username and password and passed through all of the upfront checks that the mobile banking app provides, at the point in which they want to use the in-app provisioning capability and push a card from the mobile banking app into the pays, no additional authentication is necessary because the authentication has already occurred to validate and authenticate the user before they get to that point in the app. So yellow path token step-up authentication is not necessary for in-app provisioning, even though sometimes it may happen if the card is manually added directly to one of the pays. Cost savings and certainly a better user experience can occur with in-app provisioning. Back to you, Shazad.
Thank you, George. Next question, does it work for issuer wallets? So I want to, and I'll take that question. So from a wallet provisioning perspective, the wallets that are primarily used globally, about 90+% of the wallet usage is for Apple, Google, and Samsung. And there's another question that says, can I push these tokens through another endpoint? Most of these wallets are tied down with the devices themselves. So Apple Wallet, for example, only works with Apple Wallet, and Samsung Wallet works for only Samsung wallets, and so does Google. So provisioning the card into those wallets, from our perspective, the BIN for those cards have to be tokenizable. And today we're talking about Visa, MasterCard BINs, which can tokenize and retrieve a token from a token service provider or an issuer, and it is approved and which can go into the mobile wallet. So the tokens, as you know, are very device specific in this particular case. tied down to that wallet that sends the nonce information, et cetera, for the provisioning to happen. So that's what I wanted to share with you, that these are very specific to the bins that are tokenizable. Now, one of the related questions that came up was, can we only do Visa cards with this integration? George, you want to talk a little bit about the roadmap or where we are with a Visa card and how we plan on becoming a card agnostic?
Yeah, so our plans are to enable both the API and SDK to work with other brands, MasterCard in particular. That will be coming up later this year for both API and SDK solutions. So that will give our issuers, our multi-brand issuers, the flexibility to enable a single in-app provisioning solution that works across both network solutions.
Next question I have is which regions is this product available? And then it's a specific region called out, but we're just going to bubble it up to which regions is this product available. George, you had shown a slide previously. I can tell you the APIs are available in most regions. We have customers available in North America. We have customers active and live customers in Asia Pacific. We have active integrations going on right now in Latin America and Europe. And we are also focusing on our CEMEA region. So the APIs are globally available. They are in varying stages of implementation. So if your region may be integrating it slowly. So let us know which region you're in. We'll be happy to assist you there. Okay. All right. Next question is, we already answered the integration process, how long it takes. Thank you, Nikhil, for doing that. Just to add on to that, Nikhil mentioned one of our clients actually completed their end-to-end integration. The fastest they were able to do was within 10 days. So that's from sandbox all the way to production, which was great. So thank you, Nikhil, for already discussing that. Next question is, we talked about a roadmap. George, would you like to elaborate a little bit more about our roadmap?
Sure. So as I mentioned, later this year, we will have support for the other network. And that will be, of course, enable our clients to provision both across MasterCard and Visa cards. There are, other non-branded types of cards that are not supported and are not supported now and won't be supported in the future, but kind of that's the exception. Also, from a roadmap standpoint for the SDK, in terms of additional endpoints, we will be leveraging integration with the Visa Card Enrollment Hub. And any endpoints, merchants that are behind the Visa Card Enrollment Hub, the SDK will enable provisioning not only to the pays, but also to any of the endpoints behind the Visa Card Enrollment Hub. And that will be coming late this calendar year as well.
And just to add on to that, one of the questions was, can we do Fitbit and Garmin Pay? That's where the Visa Card Enrollment Hub comes in. There's a complementary set of APIs which will allow not just the device-bound provisioning and tokenization, but also cross-device or e-commerce tokenization that sits under Visa Card Enrollment Hub. That includes Fitbit, Garmin Pay, et cetera, that will be in future. All right, the next question is, will I be able to integrate Apple, Google? We have Visa and have direct integration with other wallets. The short answer is yes. You can definitely do Apple, Google, and Samsung Pay with Visa. And then you can integrate with other wallets yourselves, like Fitbit or others. Now, you can also choose within Visa if you want to do just Apple or just Google or just Samsung. So this, the way APIs are designed and SDKs are designed is that you have the ability to provision into the wallet that you choose. So that's where Nikhil mentioned there are different provisioning set up for that we can definitely go through. The next question here, can the gift cards be provisioned into the wallet? You want to take that, George?
Sure. So any card or any BIN in particular that supports tokenization is eligible to be provisioned to the wallet. So it's not a provisioning or in-app provisioning restriction. It's more of a question of whether that BIN is or is not eligible for tokenization. And I do believe that, at least from a Visa card standpoint, reloadable prepaid cards are supported. From a one-time use gift card, and Nikhil, I may have to lean on you on this one. I don't believe one-time gift cards are supported from a Visa token service standpoint. But the answer is, if that BIN, or that card type could be tokenizable, then yes, it could be used for in-app provisioning.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, as long as the BIN's tokenizable also includes your prepaid cards, debit cards, credit cards, as long as it has the Visa logos or in future other card brand logos, we will definitely make that available. All right, the next question is, I would assume the card data sent to mobile app embedded in SDK is encrypted. Could you please confirm and eventually clarify how it is encrypted? So good question. Depending on the card or the wallet type, all wallets have different specific requirements for encryption. That's how our APIs, depending on which device the request is generated from, will encrypt that solution for the wallet. And that's how it gets provisioned. Okay.
And I can add to that, Shahzad. I think the question was also asking about, the data that's sent into the SDK and whether or not that's encrypted. And yes, the data that's sent into the SDK is encrypted. As part of the onboarding process for the SDK, we would share with you a shared secret and a key and an app ID. And you would, in the back end, use that key and other data to encrypt the card data on the back end, so that the back end would encrypt the card data, pass that encrypted set to the encrypted set of data to your mobile app, and your mobile app would then just be a pass-through to forward that set of encrypted data into the SDK. So your mobile app would never actually decrypt the card data. It would never have access to the card data. It would just be a pipe of sorts, getting the encrypted card data from your back end and passing it through into the SDK as an input.
Thank you, George.
All right, back to you, Shahzad.
Yeah, a similar question, George. You went through the flows. The question says, can you please go over the recommendation of when to use the APIs versus SDKs for in-app provisioning?
Sure. It's really up to you in terms of your requirements and the approach you'd like to take. We have some clients that may have already explored the direct wallet API integration, and they'd be more comfortable with coding directly to the pay wallets and have challenges with the infrastructure setup, have challenges with the expense and cost of managing the HSMs on the back end. And in those cases, the API is certainly a good fit. In other cases where maybe you're starting from zero and you want to move forward with all three pays, and rather than doing three separate integrations with each one of the wallet API integrations, the SDK abstracts all of that away from you so that you don't have to worry about either the encryption nor the wallet APIs themselves. So it's really an option based upon your requirements, based upon where you may be from a market readiness and standpoint. with your own app. So it's circumstantial and based upon what best meets your needs.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question is, can you elaborate on what dependencies do we have on processors, core, or card management systems? I can probably take that, George, if you don't mind. The good thing about the in-app provisioning is that you're not reliant on third-party systems. As long as you as an issuer or a partner to an issuer has access to the card, because all we are doing is creating a provisioning attempt from a platform encryption payload and having it embed into a mobile wallet and then requesting a token. So the dependencies there are limited dependencies. As long as you have access to the card, the initial card information and cardholder data, then we can definitely support your provisioning through in-app provisioning. George, there's another question about is there any support for non-Visa branded solutions? I believe we already touched upon that already. Well, we seem to have answered a lot of questions here. Okay, any plans to support this in-app push provisioning for merchant card on file tokenization? So that's what George was mentioning. We have a complementary service, Visa Card Enrollment Hub, that will allow us to do the card on file tokenization as well. So if that's the need, please let us know. We'll be happy to assist you in connecting to the right architects there. The last question we're going to take here before we ramp up is, are there different software architecture for wallet, or is it the same for all of them? The short answer is it's different for every card experience. Of course, Android running either Google Pay or Samsung Pay is different versus the Apple Pay experience. So those experiences you still have to develop in the mobile bank in your banking app. So please make sure that you connect to that and get that information on what would the experience look like. With that being said, we are on time. I want to thank you all for joining us early in some places, late in other places, and we would love to see you again in our future webinars. We will also try to do a few in different regions as well. So I appreciate you guys joining. Have a good night or morning or afternoon, wherever you're at. Thank you.